Hello, I'm Anna.
Hi, I'm Amanda. I work with Bella Bella. I am a makeup artist, hairstylist, and photographer. And today we're going to show you two different looks that you can use whenever you're go-go dancing.
The two looks we're doing, one is more of a vintage look. It's good for stuff like burlesque, the pinup. There's a lot of different stuff you can use it for, a lot of different bookings you could use it for, as well as we're going to be doing more of a smoky eye look, which is the more darker eyes, dramatic, nude lips, stuff like that. So first we're going to do the vintage look. Stuff to keep in mind: when your hair is usually pulled up and you're doing like a high ponytail or a big high bun, that's when smoky eye or the more dramatic makeup will really come into play, because it's more plain Jane up here, so you want to go extra above and beyond with your makeup. You want to do that normally, but that's a really good time to keep that in mind. And then with the pin-up vintage look, you could use that for almost anything. Your hair up with the bandana, hair down, the curly. You could use it with a lot of stuff. At this point in time, when we would be doing our makeup, I would have already put on my body tanner, the Sally Hansen tanner, and any other tanner that I have going on, my legs, tummy, chest area, and whatnot. And since my tanner would already be done, normally during the day, every day wear, I would have my foundation match my face and it would be a lighter color. But since I already have my tanner on for work, I'm going to be going with a darker shade on my face, where it's not quite as dark as my tanner, but it's at least a shade to two lighter up here than my body down here, so it looks a lot more natural and you don't look quite like a ghost. We'll get started with the vintage. Something to keep in mind is that it's really important to take care of your skin, especially when you're working late nights. You come home, you might pass out, you're sweating in this thick makeup. You really want to, make a good habit of washing your face, taking care of it, using moisturizers. Once you start hitting 27, 28, it's nice to look into some anti-aging creams or whatnot, but you definitely want to take care of your skin as much as possible, because it'll help the makeup from hurting yourself. It'll help you with maintaining all those bookings and gigs and whatnot. Do you have anything on that? No?
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Anna already has a clean face, so we're going to go ahead, and the first step you would do is put on moisturizer. Moisturizer is very important because any little dry, flaky parts of your face, if you put makeup over it, it's going to look obvious. So first we start with just a little bit of moisturizer. You don't want to overdo it. Apply it to her entire face. And over the eyelids as well, because sometimes you might have little flaky parts in your eyebrows that you might not realize. Also, it's good, anything that you put on your face, bring it down into your neck a little bit, because you don't want to have a harsh line right there. Okay, so she's moisturized. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put on a primer. A primer is really good for setting your foundation, or for being a base for it, rather.
It also helps your makeup spread out more. It makes your makeup last longer. It really utilizes your makeup very well as you're putting it on your face.
It gives you more of a flawless finish as well. So we're putting that over the entire face, like we did the moisturizer. Also over the eyelids. Because your face primer can also help add as your eyeshadow primer. Okay, so she is moisturized and primed. Now we're going to go ahead and put on the foundation. I have my method, which is basically I just put it on with my fingers. So
also what we do, this is something that we really push in our company for while you're dancing and taking photos. It's the MAC Pro Longwear, the Studio Fix line that they have. This foundation works extremely well for holding your makeup while you're sweating on stage, and then you could get off stage 2 seconds later and snap a photo and shiny and glow and it looks like nothing ever happened to your makeup. So we push this very hard in our company, and we strongly ask that this is one of the things you do purchase and you use every time you work, because it will not let you down. So it is the MAC Pro Longwear. Keep in mind to get the right color for you while you have your tanner on. You always want to go 1 shade to 2 shades lighter than your actual tanner color. And yeah, that's what you want to get.
So my method of using your fingers is I apply it just like I would the moisturizer. I always start out with a little bit of a lighter coat on your face, because you don't want to start out with a huge glob of it, because then it's a little bit more difficult to blend into the neck area. And like I said, you blend down into the neck area. I'm going to need a little bit more. There we go. So I just did 1 little pumpful. I'm going to bring it right into the neck area. Put it down towards the chest, because you want everything to look like it is the same color. If you need to wipe off any excess at any time, just have paper towels or a dirty towel or something ready. That way you don't end up wiping it off on your outfit or whatever you're wearing. So I'm just making sure everything is very well blended, even around piercings. For sure around piercings. Now it's important to not put it directly over your eyebrows, because a lot of times it, first of all, it lightens the eyebrows, which defeats the whole purpose. Also, it can make your eyebrows look cakey once you're finished. So that is the finger paint method.
Now, if you notice, she did 1/2 of my face. Throughout this process, we're going to show you a couple different tricks with getting the same look or appearance, whether you are a finger person or you're more of a brush person. I do recommend with the fingers. I have learned from very many artists I've worked with in the past that it blends into your skin the best when you have the skin-on-skin contact, but I don't always like to get my fingers dirty. So I have 2 brush methods here that I use just for my liquid foundation. This one, which is more longer, flatter, but thicker. I'm not sure exactly what kind of brush it is, but it's MAC 190. This one I use if I'm more in a bit of a hurry. It'll get a lot more foundation and a lot of the area faster and quicker. So if I am in a hurry, I will use this brush. But with this one that is shorter, it's more airy in the bristles, and a little bit fatter, this one has a better way of smoothing out the foundation on you so it doesn't look so plastered on your face. It makes it look, more natural, more blended in, more airy, not like a whole film of foundations on your face where you could literally smear it off. She already did 1/2, so I'm going to go with this one because I prefer this one and I'm not in a hurry. And I'm going to show you in this mirror right behind me exactly how I stroke it on with the brush. I will start up in this area. Keep in mind when using brushes on your face, you kind of want to really pay attention to the shaping in your face. So underneath the eye, I do more of a triangle. If I'm going along the cheekbone, I kind of come down across my cheekbone. If I'm coming across the jawline, I rub into my jawline. But you'll see, just pay attention as I'm doing it, you'll see that I'm having my brush flow with the shaping in my face. So I'll do more of a V up in here. And I don't press down very hard, I still stay very light and airy on it. Then I'll go over my eyelid, go over my eyelashes. It doesn't matter because I'll color them in later, but I do avoid my eyebrows like Amanda was saying earlier. So I come more in a V, then I start coming up here, get up in between here, get in my nose area, and I really try to make that little bit of foundation really spread out. So I'm still getting coverage, but once again, it doesn't look plastered. Do a little bit more. There we go. Here. And I go all up close into my ear area because I don't want any lines to show. Go over my mustache area, chin. I try to keep a lot of the strokes the same. Come down here. Up into my scalp. Really rub in my wrinkles in my forehead because I don't want that showing. Like we said earlier, you will wind up using more foundation with the brush. When you do it on your fingers, you use a lot less and it spreads a lot more. But it just depends which way you prefer. So I do need one more pump for my neck. And with my neck, I kind of go more in a diagonal direction down this way so that it's still flowing along my collarbone once I start to hit my collarbone. And keep in mind, you don't want any lines going across the back sides of your neck either, especially if you're wearing your hair up. So I will bring my makeup a little bit behind my ears, as far back around my neck as possible, but I'll make sure that I don't have a whole glob of foundation over in this area by the time I hit that area. So it's just a matter of massaging out some of the foundation. I'm not really streaking lines back there. If that makes sense. Collarbone. Chin, cheek, under the eye, nose, eyelid, forehead. All the way up into your scalp. And up into your ears. And then it's done on that side.
All right, so moving on. Now, we're going to be doing the concealer. A lot of people actually use concealer before the foundation. It's okay, a lot of people have done it, but the actual way that you get the most benefit out of the concealer is if you put a light coat over top of the foundation. So we're just gonna, with a little brush, we have a concealer brush. This is the MAC 195, and this is also MAC concealer.
Now this concealer is one of the other items that I do strongly recommend. We all get those bad pimple days or craters or something might pop out in your face. It's just one of those oddball days. And out of all the places I've looked and shopped, MAC has had the one thickest concealer that actually has been able to cover that area pretty well, that where by the time I was done my makeup, you almost couldn't tell at all. So as far as a good thick concealer that lasts a long time and you only need a little bit to get a lot of result, I do recommend that product a lot.
This is the MAC Studio Finish Concealer. It has SPF 35 in it, which is a bonus. Okay, so with concealer, a lot of people have a tendency to put it directly under their eyes when they're trying to hide bags under their eyes. That's probably the worst thing you can do because it actually emphasizes it a little bit more. The better alternative is to go down into a V, directly under your eyes. But you bring it down almost into the cheek area a little bit. And then you just kind of start to blend. You bring it up into the corner of your eyes and you blend down. And you blend out. You don't want to get a lot of concealer on your nose because that starts to cake up as well. So I just apply. Get right underneath your eye as far as you can. And work your way up.
This is also another case scenario where with this type of concealer, you don't really want to use your fingers on this one. The brush actually does work better with working it into your skin and any little fine wrinkles you might have that you have naturally either way. So this is one item that Amanda and I can both agree that we would prefer the brush on for the better result. Good to get a little bit of concealer on the eyelid as well. Anything you're applying on all over your face as far as foundation, powder, concealer, you want to put it right on your eyelid as well.
That way, because what it does is it kind of acts as a bit of a primer for your eyeshadow, and also it just keeps everything neat, clean, you know what color everything is, and that just helps a lot. Now, for instance, if Anna had, like, let's say a breakout or something, fortunately enough, she has really awesome skin. So, but if she did, we'll go ahead and say in the chin area, you would apply a little bit of concealer, just tap it in there, and just blend as much as you can. So tap and then blend.
You don't want to ever leave globs of the concealer on thinking, oh, I'm just going to cover it up with something else later. You always want to blend the concealer on, because that is one thing that once you start putting other stuff over it, if it's not blended properly, it'll look like discoloration and stains on your face. So because it offers so much coverage, you really do have to blend it in so the colors work well later on.
So once again, doing a triangle underneath our eyes instead of going directly under. So just a little triangle, and then you blend. And like I said, you try to blend out as much as possible because you don't want a lot on the nose. Get directly underneath the eye. Okay, close your eye. And then we get it directly over top. I'm also going to put just a little bit in the forehead, kind of rub it in a little because it kind of helps to fill in any wrinkles. We want everyone to think that you're 21 forever.
So just to restate, you know, this concealer doesn't just work great as a cover-up, but it also helps saving you on spending the extra money on primer that people try to sell you to make your eyeshadows pop more. This will work as all of that in one.
Which, if you like eyeshadow primers, like some people have just kind of gotten used to them and they like them, that's totally okay too. But
Right.
this is just a cheaper, easier, one-step kind of way to go.
And you'll get the same result.
Okay.
Side note, something else to keep in mind in the future is if you feel like your eyeshadows are still not popping or giving that full color that you want, instead of having to also resort to buying a separate primer, all you need to do is wet the eyeshadow a tiny bit, either your brush, on your finger, whatever, just a tiny, tiny bit, rub it into the shadow, then put it on. Water on most eyeshadows that most companies make really, really pop with just a tiny bit of water added.
Okay. So now we're doing powder. Anna has a loose powder. She uses, this is a CoverGirl powder.
Just a CoverGirl.
So just a basic one. You have your big giant powder brush. This is the MAC 134. So what you do is you just take a little bit of the loose powder, put it some in the lid, like that, and then you swirl your brush in it. You've probably seen a million people do this on those Bare Mineral commercials and everything. It really is the best way to put on powder. Then you tap the excess off, because you don't want to put a ton on right away. You want to be able to blend. Okay, so then I usually do circular motions, because it just makes it blend better. Put it all over the face, even up by the ears. Every time you go to apply more, tap it. I even put it over the lips, because that kind of acts as almost a primer for your lips as well. You want to make sure that you have a matte finish, because you can always add glitter and shine and highlights and everything later.
Contours, all later. Do keep in mind, we wanted to show you guys, you know, from a professional standpoint, which is Amanda, and then everyday girl, like me, just like you, the different ways of putting on the makeup. And we did come to find out, you know, just from stuff I've learned from makeup artists I've worked with in the past, that I was kind of doing a lot of the stuff already the same way that she does it. You know, so we did agree that on this part with your basic matte finish, any CoverGirl, Maybelline, whatever will work. Nothing, you don't really need anything expensive for that. I always do put some in the lid, rub it in the lid like she did, and I do circular motion into my face with the powder because it really helps fill anything that the foundation might have not completely filled in. Hi guys, this is Anna again.
I'm Amanda.
And we're picking back up where we left off. Your video did not jump or anything. So we are picking back up after doing the foundation, concealer, the powder, and all that. And we are about to go into eyebrows now. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this eyebrow part for you guys. Everybody does their eyebrows differently. You could use a pencil, you can use eyeshadow. There's different ways to go about it. The one thing you want to make sure you always avoid is having anything that looks like a straight line or that it was actually drawn on your face. You want to make it as natural as possible. What I do is I always go with a shadow. It's always been the easiest, no matter how nice of a pencil I might have bought from the most, you know, expensive company. Nobody ever gets that effect without it looking like a line. Eyeshadow has always been easiest for me. And what I do is, since I have darker hair, usually my roots are a lot darker even though I have highlights, I always go with a black on my eyebrows, but that's me. You could be just a dark brown, a light brown, you could be red, it just depends on you personally. Because I go so dark with the black, I don't shade my entire eyebrow in from here all the way over. I kind of just do the top part. So I'll color in up here, just to thicken up my eyebrows and show that natural top arch that most women get. And then as I come to the end of my eyebrow, I'll go more on top of the hairs a little bit, just very gently stroking it in. I'll color in a little bit inside as well where the hairs start. And it's okay to get a little bit messy. I always clean my eyebrows up with Q-tips because it's not going to be perfect being drawn in. So coloring in. And the brush I'm using is just a, what would you call this? Like more of just an angle brush. Super thin, but it has that angle there which really helps. Color it in. Then onto the other one. Just gently, right above the brow, where my hairs are there, but they're not completely fully grown in. And down here. A little bit here. Then what I do, which a lot of people don't really know about this, is it looks like a clear mascara, but it's actually for your eyebrows. I get it from MAC. Don't know exactly what it's called. It just says clear on the bottom, but it is a mascara for your eyebrows. If you let them know that, they'll know exactly what you're talking about. And the reason why I put this on my eyebrow before adding any more color is because it literally holds my eyebrows in place exactly where I want them while I'm dancing, sweating, moving around, taking pictures. It really keeps and holds the shape, and it separates up the hairs with that little bit of a wet look, and it shows the texture in your actual like eyebrow hair. I hope that doesn't sound like too crazy or funny, but it just gives off a better appearance. So I'm going to color it in, brushing upward when I'm closer towards the center, and then kind of brushing out as I move down my eyebrow. I'll have my smaller hairs up in here, upward, and then once again, outward here. And it really, really holds everything in place. Doesn't matter if you already have super thin eyebrows or super thick or whatever. Doesn't matter how much hair you have, it really helps. Okay. Then what I do is, it's probably weird, but it works for me. Where's the mascara? Oh, over there. I use mascara. I go black on my eyebrows, so I just get a black mascara. You could get any shade mascara you want, but I use that to color in my eyebrows, and I will wipe a lot of it off. Sucks because it's kind of a waste of mascara, but if you have it completely globbed on there, it's going to be just too much on your eyebrow. So I will take a bunch off. And I will just barely color in my hairs so it's still natural looking without looking like I drew anything on my face. I barely really colored into my hairs. And I'm extremely gentle when I get closer to this area. You always want the color to look lighter in here and then more darker as it comes out. And then if I got any globs in there, just make sure I stroke it away. And then same thing on this side. Then I will take a Q-tip to clean it up so that it just is a lot more natural looking. So as my eyebrow comes out, it fades more naturally. So I will clean up in here, just kind of fading it out a little bit. And then of course if I got anything in there, I would clean that as well. And then up in here. And as you get down in this area, you want to make it a tighter cleanup. And then any foundation or powder, anything that I might have wiped away with the Q-tip, I can always go back a little later and just clean it up. Take the brush and just dab it, rub it in, the powder, just kind of go back over it and clean it up. It's super easy just to fix that color right in there. Does that look even? I feel like you want to make sure that it's even on the ends here. See how I kind of have it uneven? So I would have Amanda fix that for me. And there we go. And that's pretty much it. So, I mean, it gets hard sometimes because one eyebrow might be a little bit more thicker than the other. You grow hair in certain areas that you don't grow in the other. So you just want to, fill all that in, clean it up, and make sure that when you do finish, everything is balanced out on your face.
Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of, like she said, go around the edges a little bit, right through here, because she wiped off a little bit of makeup, which is okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to take a little tiny bit of powder, just to kind of blend it a little bit. And if you squeeze the end of the brush, it actually, I guess it kind of soaks up more powder so that you can get into smaller areas. Now you want to try not to get, obviously, directly on the eyebrow where she just applied it, but just a little bit to blend. Okay, now we're pretty good with that. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and get into using bronzers and contouring. Contouring is a big thing now. If you look all over Pinterest, it's everywhere. There's a lot of different ways to contour. You can use a foundation that's usually about 2 shades darker than what your normal foundation color is, and you can use that, or you can use a bronzer, which is my personal favorite. You could even use a slightly, like a little bit of a darker powder, as long as it goes on your face, and as long as it is a couple shades darker than what you naturally normally use. So, in this case, I'm using a powder, a bronzer. So I'm using a very intense contouring brush. You don't have to use this. You could also use maybe one of these kinds of brushes, and for a little bit of the heavier points, kind of squeeze the brush a little bit, because then it almost kind of gives you the same effect.
Now, before moving on with that, if you were to decide to just use a foundation that's a couple shades darker than the foundation you normally use for your shifts, that would have been applied before you would have done the powder.
Yes.
So just so you're not confused on that part. I thought it was really cool. I never knew that before. I actually just learned that myself. I saw Amanda doing it, and she literally took the darker foundation and just colored it in, right, along the sides with her finger, blended it with the other foundation that was a little bit lighter, keeping the darker in here, right before the powder was applied.
Okay, so now with contouring, what you want to do, what I was actually taught to do, which really does help, is you start a little bit in the hairline, and you just kind of start from there and you blend down, because what you don't want is you don't want it to go any further than right here, or else you start looking like you have a mustache, or it'll pick up that natural line you get right there and make you look more like hard lines on your face. So start in this area and just blend. What I normally do is, since I start right where the cheekbone is about to hit, I actually blend down slightly, because once you get everything contoured and figured out, there's almost always a chance that you're gonna have to clean up right through this jawbone. So, I start with a little bit of bronzer, and then I just keep on layering as I need to. We actually don't need too much for this first look that we're going for. But you see, it just adds some definition. Another good way, actually, yeah, do that. Another good way to know where your cheekbone actually is to do the kissy face. Kissy face. It's like fishy, but it brings out the cheekbones a lot. So I'm gonna just go ahead and do it to the other side. And if whenever you first apply it, it looks like a very harsh line, don't worry, you can always blend it in. Blending is the best thing that you can do with everything. With eyeshadows, with foundations, contouring, everything. So now that I've got her cheekbones more defined, I'm going to go through and I'm actually going to use a little bit of blush first. So I'm taking this would be my blush brush for now. I'm taking it and I'm just dabbing a little bit onto the blush. You can use a loose blush, you can use a cream blush, things like that. With cream blushes, be careful, because it is easy to put too much on right away. So I'm using powder. And what you do is right where your contour was, you go right here just to where the cheek is. You don't want to go up too much, you don't want to cover the entire cheek, because then you kind of look like, you know, Raggedy Ann, or you look too rosy there. So I go just above where the contour was and just dab just a little bit of color in there, just to kind of make you look nice and blushy. If for some reason the look that you're trying to go for is even more natural, and you know, or if you end up not liking the contouring or something like that, you can bring the blush just ever so slightly down further and contour out that cheekbone. Bronzer does work better, but if for some reason you're in a bind, then that works. So now what I'm going to do is, like I said before, I will have to blend in just a little bit, just to get a little bit less of a dramatic, because you don't want it to look like you just completely put lines all over your face. So I'm just taking regular powder and just dusting it. Now it is important to get in the hairline as well, because you don't want a white line all the way around your face. It looks more natural. So as you can see, she still has definition through here, but it's not, oh my gosh, in your face. There might be some times that you actually do want it to be, oh my gosh, in your face, and that is when you want to make sure that you have it very well blended so that you don't look clowny. So I'm doing the same thing to the other side, blending into the hairline. There you have a little bit of contouring, just mainly in the cheekbones, and some blush. So now if you want to absolutely get really into the contouring thing, there are a lot of makeup tutorials online. There are a lot of really good videos that'll tell you exactly how to do it. For this look, it's not completely necessary. If you really wanted to, just, because the goal is to have an overall oval shape. You want your face to almost appear oval. So if for some reason you have like a more square hairline, putting a little bit in through here, with your bronzer really helps to contour. So also another good thing is if, you have double chin or anything, which is my problem as well, but if you have any kind of double chin or you want to accentuate your jawbone line, you just take some bronzer and go right down here and you almost shadow in right underneath here. And it kind of brings it out. And don't do it too much or else you're gonna look like you have a bronzer beard. So you just have to be very careful with that. Like I said, blending is everything. Now, okay, now this is a little bit of a, it's kind of like a highlighter.
Yeah, this is another thing that I would recommend. If you were to buy anything expensive, or this is from MAC, this was really cool. It's more of a highlight, but it's like a bronzy, blushy type of highlight. Any color blush I've used, whether I was doing natural makeup, hardcore makeup, dark makeup, whatever, it's just like a topper. It really highlights and puts a sheen over your cheekbone and your T areas. This is called Perfectly Poised, and it's a mineral skin finish. So Perfectly Poised mineral skin finish, and it's from MAC. Yep, and that's the exact color I have here. And it works well. Whether you're just running to the store and you put a light powder on your face and you just want to accent those T-zones, it's super easy, and you don't need much. It goes on very easy, which you'll see.
So I'm just applying this with a little bit of a smaller brush because since I know that we're not going over a large area, it's a smaller area, so it's okay to use a smaller brush. So I'm just dabbing in there. And we're going just a little whoosh right over where we did the contouring and a little bit where the blush is. Just this general area, just a pop, and it gives you some shine, some glitter. And then like she said, you can also do a little bit in your T-zone just to kind of, a little bit down here if you wanted, blend it down. Always blend down, especially in the neck area, or else you're gonna look like you have orange face and white everything else.
And the collarbone area too, sometimes I'll highlight that. And what's the best way you would explain what the T-zone is for the girls that don't know exactly?
The T-zone is this basic general area right here. A lot of times, people, whenever they say, do you have an oily T-zone, or don't forget the T-zone, this is the T-zone right here. So it's over the nose and over the forehead.
And sometimes it could include a little bit on the chin area, but you want to be careful with that too, because you don't want to make it look like you're giving yourself a butt chin. And if you did do like the highlighting or the contouring, bronzing up in here, then usually you don't need it on the chin. You just got to make sure that you're balancing it out on your face.
And it's really good to know what kind of face shape you have, because that helps whenever you're applying the makeup. If you have a naturally really round face, you know you're gonna have to get in there with the contouring. You're gonna have to make sure that everything, you have angles to your face, that everything's set up the way it needs to.
That's a big reason why I love the contouring, especially because I do have a round face and I like to try to bring out my cheekbones and make my face look longer and whatnot. Not so flat.
I don't know if you want to go ahead and talk about this product as well.
This is the Golden Bronze Loose Powder Bronzer. This is also from MAC. This is more of a body bronzer. It's super awesome, like very bronzing, very glowy. You don't need much to put it on. You don't put this on your face. This is more for maybe a little bit on the neck down. So I would use it for my chest area to highlight my cleavage, accent it a little bit more. I use it on my collarbone. Sometimes I'll use it with my body makeup. I'll take something of like a strobe liquid lotion. It's more of a makeup lotion that has a highlight in it, and I'll put that on my collarbone area or on the fronts of my thighs or a little bit on my arms, areas that I want to highlight on my body, my hip bone. When you're in those go-go outfits, and then put this over it, and it puts such a great reflective color and adds lines, actually. It's a way to trick people too with toning yourself. I've even given myself a fake looking six-pack with this thing. It's pretty cool. But just to show you real quick on my arm here. Can you see that? I just put a little bit of liquid and just dabbed, rubbed it in, and it gave me that. So that's pretty cool to change the appearance on your body, your hip bones, your tummy, just really trick people out. So
I think that with this product as well, if you have an issue with like your chest being small or anything like that, if you want your collarbones to pop a little bit more, if you want your cleavage to be a little bit more emphasized, I'm actually going to show you real quick how to do that. So basically, you just take a little bit on your brush. I'm using a wider brush right now, but if you really, it's just like with contouring with your face. If you end up needing to like really get in there, using a smaller brush, one that's a little bit more flat or just even like more tight, like the bristles being more tightly in together, really helps. So Anna doesn't have this problem, but if you did for some reason, you put a little bit, tap it off. So what I do is I go right around here. I almost make a slight heart shape right over where the cleavage actually would be, because you don't want to put it directly right on top, because you want to give the effect that they're shadowing. So a little bit in between, and then right over top like this in a heart shape.
And by doing it that way, it also makes you appear a little larger than what you are. And whether you're large-chested or small-chested, this is always good to do. It just depending how much you want to achieve will depend how much you kind of really put in there without it looking like streaks.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, now I completely streaked it out just to emphasize what I'm doing. Also with the collarbones, I'll go ahead and show that real quick as well. You just take a little bit. I would normally use a smaller brush for this, but you just go right in here, right where her little dips are, and then one in the middle. So as you can see, I didn't blend anything yet, nothing, but I'm just showing you that right in here. Also, if you have a hard time finding them for some reason, just shrugging your shoulders forward gives you your little dip, so you can see exactly where to put it. Also, it makes it look thinner as well. So now you have a structured face, a structured jawline, structured chest, you've got it all together. So
do keep in mind, just like we emphasized earlier, a lot earlier when we first got started, how important it was when you're putting the foundation down in your neck area to really bring it over, really come a little bit behind the ear and along your hairline, so it looks completely blended in and you don't have lines anywhere because you're putting so much makeup on. Like she said earlier, bringing it up into the hairline. Just like all that is important to really bring it as far out as your skin shows. You also, when doing the chest makeup here, you also want to bring a highlight or a bronzer from your shoulder into your arm. You don't want to ever look like your makeup stops here, or it stops here, or it stops here. No matter what costume you're wearing, you really want to make sure that the areas that pretty much always show, your chest, your arms, your tummy, and your thighs, everything looks pretty blended in.
Another good thing that you could use, it's obviously not necessary, but I have noticed that it works really well for body makeup. You could use it for, usually for adding extra glimmer, extra shimmer, you know, stuff like that to your skin. They have these big, kind of like a powder.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about? They have like feathery ones sometimes.
It almost looks like the small little compact pads when you buy like a cheap little compact from like CoverGirl, the little pad. But they're much bigger, much fluffier, and they have like a gold, like a shimmer, different bronzers, and those are cool too to top yourself off if you don't have, you know, that loose powder shimmer.
Okay, so now I'm just gonna kind of blend in a little bit of what I over-exaggerated for you.
Now keep in mind, we're trying to go through this as quickly as possible and cover as much as possible for you, so we're not really spending all the time that we normally would blending stuff in or transitioning colors or, you know, adding all that extra makeup that you might go a little bit more dramatic with because you are on stage working, and you always want to go a little bit extra, obviously, for these shifts than you would if you walked out on the street during the day for nothing. So we're showing you the basics and stuff, but you can always amp this up on your own.
Yep. Okay. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and get started on eyes. Oh, actually, I would rather show this.
And just to remind you guys, in case you forgot from earlier, the first look we are going over is the vintage burlesque pin-up type look. It works for a lot of different stuff, and it's a look that you will wind up using a lot with Bella Bella. And then the second look will be the smoky eye, sultry look that you use a lot with Bella Bella as well.
This is the part that you're probably going to take your time with as well, because it does take a little while. But once you get it mastered, then you get it mastered. You can go from there.
Do keep in mind, I know it's a lot that we're going over. We're trying to cover as much with you guys as possible because this will give you the ultimate look. Practice, practice, practice like we tell you to do with everything else. Because once you have your routine set, once you've done this enough times, it's like nothing. You get faster and faster with it, you get better at it, and eventually this doesn't feel like so much. So just keep practicing. But at least now you guys are learning the steps and the tips.
So notice that I did get just a little tiny spot right above where my perfect little line would go. So I'm taking a Q-tip because it is still a little bit more wet, and I'm just barely going in. I'm just barely kind of smudging it off. So, and then also with a Q-tip, if it's a little bit more difficult to get it off than you thought, I also take a Q-tip and I dip it in the shadow color that I used right there, and I just barely dab it, to kind of correct it, and then you can go back over and just make sure that your liquid eyeliner is perfect again. So now it's perfect. Like I said, you dry time, you can do a little dance while you're waiting.
Right. You definitely want to be patient with this part because you're going to be kicking yourself in the butt if you got impatient and we're like, oh, I'll just open my eyes, and it's like,
Yeah?
All that work.
It's the worst. So now with the next part, for the inside, since I'm applying it on her, I'm actually going to use a pencil on the inside. I don't completely trust myself with liquid eyeliner on the inner parts of people's eyes. It's just what I feel more comfortable with. If you feel more comfortable doing that as well, that's fine. Just make sure that your liquid eyeliner is as far into the crease as you can get it. And I normally don't recommend it for long time use. Like, try to get as much practice with the liquid eyeliner as you can. But if you're in a hurry, or if you're really new and you're like, I don't know how to do this, then using a pencil, a black pencil on the inside is okay to do. Just make sure. You can go ahead and show, see. Now, like I said, I'm going to be doing the inner crease of her eyes. So go ahead and look that way for me, your eyes. Now I'm blending in to where the liquid eyeliner is. Okay, so turn more that way, not that way. And you want to keep it thin through here. So see, that way it all matches up and everything's where it needs to be. So, alrighty, now I am going to go ahead and make the cat eyes just a little bit more poppy. So, because even though it might look whenever the eyes are closed that, man, that's like a thick line, whenever you open, sometimes you need that little bit more. So, and normally you might only have to touch up just the outer corners, so you don't stress out that, oh no, I have to do it all over again. You probably just have to do the little corners. I've actually seen girls use like tape and stuff like that, and just like stick it on their face to try to get that line so that it's nice and clean. If you want to try doing that way, that's totally fine, as long as you get the results that you were looking for. If you end up getting better with the liquid eyeliner and you feel more comfortable and you can just kind of freehand it, then that's good too. Like I said, sometimes this is the most time-consuming part, just because you want that to be good. Your whole day could be bad, but if your liquid eyeliner is wrong, it's the end of the world. Notice, like I said, I kind of splotched it a little bit right on the side.
Now, liquid eyeliner really does give the best result, especially for a look like this. Until you master it, you always can use a pencil, but if you are going to use a pencil until you finally, get comfortable with the liquid eyeliner, you always want to go with a super dark, thick, like a nice, good black pencil. So it still almost gives you almost the same result without looking too different. But it is okay to, practice with the pencil and use that if need be. But you definitely want to master it with the liquid.
Now we're going to the eyelashes part. I know that you girls end up using fake eyelashes, so that's very good. I always put mascara on before I put the fake eyelashes on, because if for some reason you have any kind of eyeshadow powder or anything, sometimes it actually will show up underneath the fake eyelashes, and that's harder to get to, because once the eyelashes are on, it's hard to get to your natural ones. So I always do just a little tiny bit. You don't need to go overboard, since you are going to end up doing the fake eyelashes, but I do just a bit. And then sometimes what I even do is I'll actually go over the top of my eyelashes.
Which is really good to know because I actually just learned that from her. I didn't do that before, but I would get annoyed sometimes having that eyeshadow fall on top of my eyelashes, especially if I'm doing last minute touch-ups when my mascara and eyelash is already done. And I never really knew how to fix that. And an obvious fixer is just to bring the mascara above it. So just be very careful.
Yeah. Yeah, don't go directly, don't press it against the top of your eyelid and then do it down. Like just start at the bottom and then your hair. Like you just start from the tips and then you work your way up a little bit.
And it's good to, really work the mascara into your eyelashes so your eyelashes are not clunking together. You really want to get those separate hairs as, separated as much as possible. Still to this day, I haven't found a mascara that I'm absolutely in love with, but I always do, no matter who I'm buying one from, I always try to look for a bristle that has the harder, more separated, longer bristles coming out of it.
Like this.
Something like that, where they're a little bit longer, there's a lot of them, but they're separated, so that I can really get them in between my hairs, because it also helps lengthen your eyelashes too. And of course, you always want to do your bottom and your top eyelashes.
Yep. Okay. So then it doesn't matter which order you do them in. You could do the bottom right now, or you can do them after the fake eyelashes. I usually do them afterwards, just because that's just the way that I normally do it. But you could do it every way.
Okay, so with the eyelashes, as far as going and buying them, you definitely want to go to the cheaper discount beauty stores that are in more of the ghetto areas of town. If you're in Tampa, that's more like Fletcher and Fowler area, by UCF area. If you are in Orlando, that's more so of Orange Blossom Trail, John Young, Hiawassee, and whatnot. They are less than half the price than what Walgreens or CVS would charge you. And with those more smaller stores, the more you buy at once, they're usually willing to cut you a deal, and you can actually negotiate with them, which you wouldn't think. But yeah, those are the same places you also want to go to when you buy your hair pieces and whatnot. But some of the numbers that I know I would recommend, because they give that big dramatic look for work without kind of overdoing it, it's a good in between, are like the 105s, and sometimes I'll even double up on my eyelashes, the 111s. If you're doing a more natural look, wispies are perfect for that. And sometimes if you want to achieve more of a baby doll look, it's totally cool to put eyelashes on the bottom too. Just make sure you let your partner know. But those actually have a really cool effect. I've done that quite a few times. But with using eyelashes on the bottom, obviously you'd be putting the eyelash on upside down compared to normal. And you want the eyelashes that are more like long and spaced out, random little long hairs. I don't remember exactly what numbers those are, but do keep all of this in mind. Sometimes it is okay to maybe keep the longer eyelash on, even though it's longer than your actual eyelid. If you're doing a black liner that goes along with it, and it goes off the side of your eye a tiny bit, that's okay too, because it makes your eyes look bigger. So it's all about I can't think of the word, but portraying an image, you faking out what you really have, So.
Okay, so now I don't know if you can see or not, but I did a pretty generous amount of the glue. Now, eyelashes, you can tell which one's the inner corner and which one's the outer. Now, I always put it where your natural eyelashes actually start, which is right around here. You don't want to do it all the way in, because then it looks kind of silly, and you don't want to do it too far out, because then it looks kind of weird.
Right.
So,
and something else too is, I know when I'm doing this, I'll put on the glue, I'll blow on it a little bit, because if it's too super wet when you put it on, it'll slide more easily and then you get gunk everywhere. But if it's just a tad bit aired out, it'll stick faster. And I usually bend my eyelash so that it has more of a curve. I'll like really bend it. So for me, I mean, you're good either way, but for me, it actually takes onto the shape of my eye a lot easier and falls right into that crack that I really want to get it in, so it looks more natural.
Okay, so I'm grabbing at either end, and I'm putting it, like I said, I'm starting directly where her eyelashes actually start, and then usually it'll fit pretty well right to where your eyelashes naturally end. So, and if you get a little bit of this glue on where your actual eyeliner is, or if it slides just ever so slightly, it's not a big deal because this is the darker one, so it will blend, and plus you're going to clean it up just a tad once you get it done.
And with the eyelashes, it's the same thing that happens with liquid eyeliner. You don't want to open your eyes right away. You want to keep them closed for a little bit until you feel like it is stuck on there pretty securely and had a little bit more time to dry.
Now the area that it usually wants to come off of first is the inner corner of the eye. So what I'm doing is I'm just pushing with my thumb just a little bit into it as it's drying. So I'm directing it. I'm keeping it from sliding down because it is natural to kind of blink a little bit because there's something foreign on your face. But this kind of helps it stay in a little bit. So, okay, I'm going to go ahead and start applying the other ones as well while those are drying. I do recommend that when you're doing it on yourself, wait for the first one to dry before you try to do the other one because you can't do it with both your eyes closed.
And let me show them real quick what I was talking about earlier, super quick, is I'll grab the ends and I will literally put a circle almost and really try to make them kind of almost take on the shape that they would have if they were already on my eye. And then they almost take on like that more of a U, so they kind of fall in there more easily.
So now be careful when you're applying the glue. You want to put it just where the line is, but you want to put a thick little bit on there, like a nice little coating. And make sure you get all the way to the edges. So I do kind of a thick line sometimes with the glue, just to make sure it's going to stay on there, but just don't go too far down with it because you'll be able to see like chunky glue marks.
What I also do as well is sometimes I'll find a brush or something that has a hard, pointier tip, and I will, to help myself out, I will stick that once my eyelash is on and really press down on my ends too and my center to really make it stick on there.
Okay, so I'm starting where her eyelashes actually begin, and then I'm letting it guide me to where her eyelashes end. Now I'm pushing as well, just a little bit. You don't want to do too much or else you will make it slide off. So you want to just push a little. And you want to try to get it as close to your actual lashes as humanly possible.
Right in their root.
Mm-hmm. So, and if you notice that you got it maybe a little too high up, just barely, while it's still a little bit wet, you can still pull it just a little bit and maneuver it. So, but it looks like we got it pretty in there. So we're gonna let that dry. And while that's drying, I'm gonna go ahead and show you with the lips, what to do with the lips. Now this is the vintage look. So we are going to be doing reds. You can do darker reds, brighter reds, like whatever they end up telling you is
Even
okay.
that more purpley, like cherry vampire color is really in right now. But it's very important that when you're going with those dramatic colors that you really match the eyeliner with the lipstick, with the gloss, so that that combination really is, a good combination will make it pop.
Now I'm starting with the liquid eyeliner, or liquid eyeliner. I just did that. I'm starting with the lip liner. And what I'm doing is I'm going right around where the actual lip is. Now sometimes you might not realize that your lip actually goes down that far. Because naturally sometimes your natural shadows on your face and stuff can prevent you from seeing that. But you go all the way down and you just line the lips out. So, and if you want your lips to appear just ever so slightly bigger, you can go right underneath and line basically the outside. So it's easier to see on the top one. So the top, you want to make sure you get that nice lip curve there. Because that's what helps your lips look really nice. If you have thinner lips, you're going to want to go just a little bit on the outside of where your actual lip line is, because it'll make it look bigger. Go all the way into the corners, and then I always shade. I start shading in, because sometimes lipstick does not stay after you know, have a drink, or you know, or just like sweating or whatever. Sometimes your lipstick will come right off. And if you have this lip liner as your base, even if it does fade a little bit, you'll still have lip color. Also with this, you can actually contour your lips a bit to actually make them look a little bit bigger. I'll go ahead and show you kind of how to do that. Whenever you see larger lips, or like those plump, juicy lips that you see in magazine ads and everything, what they've done is they've shaded those lips in so much to make them appear more supple and juicier and, you know, stuff like that. So they put the darker around the outside, and then the more of the inside, usually just right in through here, and this little bit down here. It makes it look bigger if you put a slightly lighter color there.
And I do everything too that Amanda's explaining. So I definitely, the shading in after going a little bit outside your line to make them a little bit bigger, but you have to be very careful because it's just a slight, tiny bit. You can go out without it looking clowny. And I do the shading because it helps with blending later on, and you don't get that Puerto Rican like lip liner look, like she said, if you're drinking and your lipstick comes off.
So I'm just going to continue just filling in the entire thing with the lip liner. So if you were to be doing the contouring, I would say get a 2 different lip liner shades, or just use a little bit of a lighter lipstick color. Or you can even, what I'm going to end up doing with Anna here is I'm going to put a gloss in the highlight spots. So we've got kind of a basis for the lips. If you need to touch it up around, which usually I always do, because my lips end up getting kind of messy.
I do too.
Just go around. You want to make sure that you emphasize this dip right here too, because that's what gives you the like luxurious lips look. Okay, so with the lipstick is pretty basic. You just put it on, if you would any other lipstick. I'm gonna make sure that you get in there. A really good thing to do before you do your lips is, what I do is every day I exfoliate my lips with my toothbrush. So after I get done brushing my teeth, I'll just real quickly, with the brush being still wet, I just go right over my lips, and it kind of exfoliates it, and it keeps you from getting those dry spots. But that helps a lot.
I've learned to carry chapstick on me all the time. Anytime I'm not working or not wearing makeup, I really keep putting the chapstick on so that when I have to do stuff like this, it keeps that dryness away.
So now I'm going to be emphasizing her lips and making them look bigger with the gloss. So I'm going right in the spots that I want it to appear bigger. This is a really great trick for you ladies who have a little bit thinner of lips. It really does help, and you can kind of put it together a little bit. And now you have the cutesy little look. You can also, if you really are feeling it that day, and if everybody decides it's cool, you could even, if you have like a little freckle on your face, or you can put like a fake one or something, just to really give that little like Betty Boop like pop.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's good with that.
And this is like a true red. I think that's a safe red to stick with, especially when you're trying to match your partner with getting the vintage and the pinup. You usually go with a true red. So if you're gonna go with any different shades that pop with a different theme, just make sure that you and your partner have as close to a shade of lipstick as possible. You don't wanna show up with, she's a deep dark red and you got this bright orangey red or anything.
So now cleanup is you just kind of do it as you go. If you notice a bunch of stuff falling everywhere, you know, then kind of clean it up and wipe it up as you go. I'm gonna have you look up. Under the eyes, under the eyes, usually you're gonna have a little bit of excess residue from your shadows and stuff like that. So I'm just taking my powder that I've been using this whole time. You can use your powder brush for this. You can use a smaller brush if you want to. And I'm just going right underneath the eyes, and it just kind of cleans it up and gives you that better line. Now I do have a little smear right there, but yeah. So it just kind of cleans it all up. We kind of jump to the lips while the eyelashes were drying. I'm gonna go ahead and show you real quick what to do if you do see the glue still on your eyelashes after it's dried. I take my liquid eyeliner, and what I always do is I just dab it right along the lash line, where that is, and it completely hides it.
Now, I do this no matter what because it actually helps my eyelashes look a little bit more natural too. Because when you put that black coating a little bit on your fake eyelashes as well, it really helps blend them into the eyeliner better.
I read in a magazine one time that they were interviewing drag queens and asking them makeup tips, which is kind of awesome. But they actually recommended doing that. They said always put liquid eyeliner on after your lashes because it helps it stick and it makes it look better.
And you have to be careful with it because if you do too much, it will wet your eyelash to make and possibly make it come off. But you don't want that to happen. So it's just a tad bit that you're coating on that.
I always put mascara on afterwards as well because I think that it kind of helps your actual eyelashes.
I do too.
Stay with the fake ones. So you don't need a lot probably, but just a little bit to kind of help it.
It's like a whole nother form of blending almost, except you're just blending in your eyelashes.
Yep. You're just making sure that there's no eyeshadows popping on it. This is where you're checking your eyes, making sure everything's good, eyelashes are good, everything's set up. And then now I would do my eyelashes underneath. So like she said, you can do the fake eyelashes underneath. That does give a really cool effect, especially if you've got like the crazier makeup going and stuff like that. If you get a little bit of glue stuck to the bottom lashes, just take your nails and just kind of work it out.
Peel it off, yeah.
Yeah. It is just liquid latex, so it does peel right off and it doesn't hurt or anything. So. Right here. Okay, cool.
So notice with the way she was using the brush on the bottom, she was kind of gripping it and pulling, gripping and pulling, and then as she came more to the inner part of the eye, she used more of the point to kind of really drag out the smaller, more baby hairs inside, and that's the way I do it as well, and it helps work a lot.
Yep.
So.
Okay, so this is the vintage look.
Vintage, pinup, burlesque, works any of those ways. One more pointer on this look too is you could, if you wanted to add a little bit of the gold or the silver, like she said, she feels it goes very well with this look. I feel the same way. I usually go with gold, make sure your partner knows, and I will go more in these areas, kind of dab in a little gold, light, like a light gold eyeshadow shimmer. Not going over the eyeliner, working around the eyeliner, and then a little bit up top here to really accentuate that black line. But this is how you achieve the look. So picking back up where we left off, we just finished the whole vintage burlesque look that we showed you guys. We're not going to go through the whole step process again with foundation, concealer, all of that, because this is a good base to work off of as well for the smoky eye look that we're going to get into. We did make sure we took the lips off because obviously when you go with the darker smoky eye, you want to go with a pretty nude natural lip. When you do the darker smoky eye, that's when you can get more funky with your contouring, your blush, if you want to do stuff on the side or whatnot. But we are going to go into that now, and she's going to show you how to do the smoky eye look. A really cool, sexy smoky eye look actually, and we're not going to do both eyes, we're just going to show you on one eye, but you will get the general idea.
Okay, so now I'm using the Smoked by Urban Decay. This is the palette. So basically what we're going to be using is, right now I'm going to be using kind of a silvery color because it gives a really cool metallic finish. I'm going to be using a little bit of a darker color, and then I'm using flat black. You can use sparkly black, whatever, but for now we're using the flat black.
Something else to keep in mind too, ladies, with trying to make your eyeshadows really pop and stand out, you could use water. So what we were saying, ladies, is a good thing to keep in mind is that you can use water. It really works well. Very light water dabbed on your brush or your finger before you put it into the shadow. It'll really help make most eyeshadows really pop out and bring out the color. I do recommend, if you, budget-wise, if it came down to it, I mean, me personally, on what I'm actually gonna spend my money or not be afraid to spend a little bit more money on, with me, it comes down to the bronzers that I mentioned. My eyeshadows are super important, and my lip liners and lipsticks for the colors that I know I use all the time, the reds, the nudes. As far as eyeliner, eye pencils, mascara, the finishing powder after your foundation, concealer, stuff like that, that's all stuff that you can totally go, lowball on. But I've learned over time that when it comes to my eyeshadows, certain lipsticks, I go a little bit more on that, and my bronzers, my body makeup, I go a little bit more on that. And that's the stuff that lasts longer too, even though you're spending a little bit more, it lasts longer.
Okay, so as you can see, I started with more of a, we worked off of the base from the last video. I did go ahead and put lighter all over it, just so it would be a little bit more of a flat base for you. I did go ahead and put the lighter color in the crease first. Now I'm putting the middle shade in here. And it's all about working from the outside in. You want to give a lot of shading to it. You could even go a little bit further out than where her cat eyes are. Normally you wouldn't do your cat eyes first. We're just for the sake of the video and for time. We're just working off of the base that we have. I always, with the dramatic smoky eye, I will go ahead and go all the way to the eyebrow. I do a bit more of a point, and then as I go, I blend in. You can do this with your fingers. You can use an eyeshadow brush. You can use whatever you want, as long as it's blending well. So now I'm taking my dark color, and I'm getting right up in this corner. Okay, so basically what I just did, I know it kind of cut real quick, but I just darkened all the way over here. I kept blending. I used 3 colors to do the darker part. I used a little bit of the lighter color, which is more towards the inside, and then I used a little bit of a darker, and then I used basically a flat black right at the end. I gave a cat eye with the eyeshadow. There are a couple different ways that you can do the smoky eye. You can do dark right on the lid if you want to, or you can do this look as well. So yeah.
With the dark smoky eye, I know from experience with us with the shifts, like I could never put enough black. You really can never put enough black. You could totally cover the whole lid, but at least you see how far out you want to go, the areas you want to blend. But I just kept putting on the black, blending, black, blending. So it literally looked like my eye went from black, all the way up to it just faded out into a lighter white. Like it faded, it was a nice transition. You never want lines showing or anything like that. And then what I would do as well sometimes too is I would take the angle brush that I used on my eyebrows, and for me that was just a little bit easier with bringing in the black underneath my eye too. It really adds a lot more with the smoky eye if you do like a smudgy black look underneath as well.
Yeah, you can use the angle brush, or you can use, I usually use a sponge brush because it's a little softer on the underneath. But it is important to do that. You can do your eyeliner first on the bottom, like inside, and then smudge it with the eyeshadow, or you can do it afterwards to give a little bit sharper of an appearance, which is what I'm going to do now.
And if it gets sloppy and a lot of excess stuff, once again, Q-tips, you clean it up, but you really work around the shape of your eye. You don't want to do like a straight line. You want to work with how your eye curves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I bring it all the way up to where the end of the eyebrow meets. And I do it almost kind of to a point like I would with a cat eye. For some cases, you could bring it all the way out if you want to. Mm-hmm. And if you're doing a smaller, more subtle smoky eye, you could bring it not so much in. So it really just depends on what the look you're trying to go for is.
This angle brush works really well too, like if you want to bring out a dramatic line here or a random line there to kind of bring up the side of your face. And if you're wearing leopard and you want to do little cheetah circles, or you want to do stars or little dots, or more of an Egyptian type look where you can have the line, a few dots with the line, you can do dots above your eyebrow. There's so much more that you can do to play with your makeup. But that's extra outside of the smoky eye.
Sometimes what I do as well is if you want a pop of color, but you don't want to do an overall colorful smoky eye look, if you might not feel comfortable, sometimes what I do is I'll actually use that bright pop of color underneath my eye and then bring it out along where this is right here, because that's kind of fun sometimes, just to add that little pop. Even if you wanted to just do it just right here, that's totally fine as well.
What also is really cool too, which I'll do a lot, is I'll use a greenish black and color it in on the whole center half of my eyelid, and do the black on the outside and blend in the middle so that it looks like my green turned into the black, where it still looks like a full smoky eye, but there's a little bit of color in there to bring out the green in my eyes, you know, or if you have blue eyes. But that's if you want to add some more, a little bit more darker, funky colors in with the smoky eye. It's all about really loading in the color and really blending it.
Now with eyeliner on the bottom, if you have really small eyes normally, you don't want to put it directly right next to your actual eyeball, because it'll make them look way smaller. So for instance, if you have smaller eyes, you would want to do more of what we have right now, where right in here, you still see her natural little part of her eye.
Yeah.
And then the shadow is right underneath. I always apply it and then I clean it up right after, because sometimes when you apply it, it just gets all crazy. Also really important is that if you do that on the bottom, you do the shadow on the bottom, blend it up into the side. So I'm gonna go ahead and just do this little underneath part just a little bit, just to show you. If you have naturally big eyes, you can do this, or if you want that like super, super dark smoke, you can do this as well. So we're going for super dark smoke for now. So you just do it all on the bottom. So you can also, I mean, there's little tips and tricks you can do. If you want to bring it down even in the middle to kind of give like a cool little effect,
A little
you can
bit
do
more
that
of a
too.
point, right? That'll really make
Yep.
your eye look bigger as well.
So like she said, with a smoky eye or with a dark eye, you want to do a lighter lip. Because if you do a smoky eye and a red lip, it's going to look like too much is going on.
I do recommend this set. I have always had the hardest time finding a nude lip that still popped and still showed, where it didn't look like I just didn't have nothing on. But if this is something I would recommend if you're going to spend good money on a lip liner and lipstick combo. This is from MAC. This is Subculture. This is a very good nude liner. And then you have the lipstick, which is called Cream Sheen MAC lipstick. And this combo goes awesome. And then you have the gloss, which is Softly Lit, and it's just the MAC gloss with the end looks like that, because they have two different options. That's what it looks like.
So if you have skinnier lips as well, don't be afraid of a nude lip. I know a lot of times you're like, what is going to disappear? It's really not. If you do the lip contouring, like how I showed in the last one, you're not going to be able to see it quite as much with the nude lip in the video because it's a little bit lighter. But I am just going back through, same as I would with a bright lip or a red lip. I'm going through with the lip liner and I'm just applying it. I'm showing off her lips by lining just barely on the outside. And you just work it in. Because even with nude lips, you can tell whenever it's coming off. All right. And then with the lipstick, again, just put it on all over like you would.
And with the lipstick, you do want to stay in the lines. You want to
Yeah.
color in the lines. And the gloss, you pretty much want to as well. And you can afford to do that since you shaded your lip liner. But sometimes if you need to blend the lips a little bit better, it's okay to do it with the gloss.
Yeah. So, and you can still clean up with the Q-tip, like so.
I always wind up having to.
And then with the lip gloss, now for the thin lip girls out there, just applying a little bit right in the middle adds just that little extra shine, and it really plumps them up without having to, get the bee sting lip gloss or, injections or anything like that. It actually just works really well. It's a good little cheat. So, and there you have that. Now, like I said, you can also go back through with your powder once everything's said and done. If you did the loose powder underneath the eyes and you dabbed it on really good and your eyeshadow stuck to it, this is the point where you could go ahead and just wipe it off. If you do have a little bit of strays, if you just keep going with the brush, usually it'll take the rest of it off, but if you're still having problems, just taking a baby wipe and wrapping it in a Q-tip and just dabbing it, that can help as well. So I'm just going to lightly go right back over where the messy spots are. And if for some reason, if you had a really big spill or, whatever, and you lost some of your glitter and your highlight stuff, you can reapply as necessary. So, but here's the basic
This is
smoky
a
eye.
good basic smoky eye, and like we said earlier, you can go above and beyond even more than what we did, but at least you learn the basics and where to go with it. I do know with me, the blending on the eyeshadow is extremely, extremely huge. I don't see where the brush is at, but something like this is really good. And you just take it and you really want to blend all up in here. Blend, 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 all up in there. So your color blends out and whatnot. And one more pointer as well too is I have other liquid eyeliners that I've purchased that are metallic green, blue, white, and if I want to do designs on the side of my face, I personally have learned that those work best for me because they have the sharper point and they stand out, they're super bright. I do my designs, I put a little hairspray on the side of my face, cover my eye, and that usually works really cool too if I want to do some cool stuff on the side of my face. But that's something for you to experiment with as well and make sure that you and your partner are comfortable doing it.
One last tip, pointer, and product display. This is Urban Decay All Nighter. It is a makeup setting spray. It will keep it where it's at.
And you can get any brand. It doesn't have to be that one.
Yeah, this one is it's got great reviews on it. Like, it just works very, very well. There's also product lines called Bin Nye that's like for special effects makeup and stuff. Sometimes you can find that online. They have a really good one as well. So for the setting spray, you don't want to do it just directly. I'm going to lightly spray her. You do it from far away. And you just do a couple little spritz just to where you lightly feel the mist on your face. If it starts dripping, you did it too close. And then
don't pat it, don't touch it, let it air dry. But that's it.
That's it.
And Bella Bella thanks you for your time. Amanda. Long night. But I hope you guys learned a lot and you take this and you use it and you practice.